In this episode, the beginning of the new Bat family. Hello again, Bat fans! The time has come for Tim Drake to finally join Batman on his first mission as Robin. Plus, new villains, new friends, and new developments in the second chapter of Batman in the 90s. The first story we'll check out is Detective Comics 628, which marks the return of the disgusting maniac called Abattoir. Here, he starts eating the hearts of animals as part of a ritual to make himself stronger. Batman manages to stop the lunatic before he could start eating human hearts. Now, this issue was not only the return of Abattoir, but also the last issue of Detective Comics written by Marv Wolfman. After a short run in the series, Wolfman was finally removed for good from the book, even though his writing was much better than before. The next story is a three-part storyline that takes place in the Batman comics and reintroduces an old friend of Batman. It begins in Batman 462, where Batman travels to California to find a murderer, and following the clues, Batman travels to the Nevada desert, where he meets an elder native and his only friend, a dog with a bat-shaped spot in his chest. The elder native explains that his people are victim of an ancient curse, and that he is somehow responsible. Batman deduces that the curse is connected to the murders in Gotham and California, and takes the old man with him to find the criminals. After tracking down some suspicious-looking Indians in Las Vegas, Batman follows them to an ancient burial ground underneath a great rock. The leader of the Indians is the old man's grandson, and he is responsible for the murders. His name is Black Wolf, and he challenges Batman to a fight. The combat is intense, but in the end, the spirit of the Bat prevails over Black Wolf. The old man then kills his grandson, ending the curse, and in the process, he sacrifices himself as the rock collapses on top of him. The crimes have been solved, and Batman gets a new partner, the faithful dog with a bat-shaped spot. That's right, folks. This is the first appearance of Ace the Bat-Hound in the post-crisis continuity. For some reason, Alan Grant and Norm Breyfogle decided to bring back Batman's best friend. Only this time it was not a light brown German Shepherd, but some kind of grey Mastiff. And in this story, the dog was not named yet. That would happen a bit later. In the next story, we move outside of continuity for a bit, as we check out the Batman Annual number 15. This book was part of the massive crossover called Armageddon 2001. Basically, this story is about Wave Rider, a time traveler who comes to the past to prevent a notable hero from transforming into the evil Monarch. The Wave Rider reaches all the heroes in the DC universe and investigates their possible futures. When he investigates Batman's future, he learns that by the year 2001, many of Batman's enemies will be dead, including Riddler, Scarecrow, Killer Moth, and a few others. People believe Batman has killed them, and when Penguin is killed during a confrontation with Batman, the Dark Knight is taken to prison. However, it's all an elaborate plan by the Joker, who wants to frame Batman. Robin and Anarchy help clear Batman's name, but in the final confrontation, Catwoman and Joker die. In the end of the story, the Wave Rider realizes Batman could not be the hero who becomes Monarch and leaves. The Last Batman Story. That's the title of this possible future, which was written by Alan Grant. The best part of the story is the reference to The Killing Joke, when Alan Grant recreates the iconic opening sequence with Batman and Joker inside a cell, only this time, their roles are reversed. A clever reference, without a doubt. The next issue of Detective Comics comes along with some interesting changes. As I said before, Marv Wolfman ended his run in Detective Comics, and Peter Milligan became the new writer of the series. Milligan wrote the four-part storyline called Dark Knight, Dark City, which we checked out not so long ago. Because of his work on that series, he became the main writer in Detective Comics starting in issue 629. Jim Aparo was still the main artist in Detective, and his style combined with Milligan's writing made for some interesting stories. Milligan was very interested in the supernatural, just like in Dark City, and his first story was the dark tale of a cursed grass. These kind of supernatural stories are much more effective for Batman, than stories about the Native American Indians. Now, the truly important thing about Detective Comics 629 was the first appearance of Blackgate Prison. Peter Milligan is responsible for creating this iconic landmark of Gotham City, and it makes sense. Arkham Asylum already existed and was very popular, so it was natural that there would be a notorious prison for the normal criminals. However, in this story, Blackgate was actually abandoned. The next story in Detective was also an interesting thriller, full of action. The downside was that the plot was a bit complex and was hard to follow at times. It was enjoyable, but at the same time a bit frustrating. There was a lot of detective work, but not enough of Dark Knight. I guess it makes sense for Detective Comics, but it still left me conflicted. Then, the next couple of issues of Detective featured yet another supernatural story by Milligan. It was obvious that his area of expertise was the supernatural thrillers, and all of the stories in Detective were filled with such plots. For instance, in Detective Comics 631 and 632, Batman has to stop the legendary figure of the Golem. This story was a moralistic tale about racism and discrimination, and it's very relevant still to this day. Plus, seeing Batman fighting the Golem is interesting. But at this point, the novelty of the supernatural elements brought by Milligan was starting to wearing off. If it wasn't because of the terrific covers by Michael Golden and the great art by Jim Aparo, Detective Comics would have become repetitive and boring. Fortunately, the creative team and Batman finally made the most important decision of the past year in the Batman comics. In Batman 465, Robin finally joins Batman once again, and the dynamic duo is together at last. After 4 long years, Tim Drake officially joins Batman as the new Robin. In this issue, Batman and Robin patrol the streets of Gotham. Batman realizes that Robin is very careful and he allows the young man to keep patrolling the streets on his own while he investigates something else. Robin stops a series of random crimes and proves to be an excellent crime fighter, working efficiently and taking no unnecessary risks. In this story, the dog from the previous story is finally named Ace, so he actually becomes the new Bat-Hound. But that's not the only surprise by the end of this book. You see, the heroes receive 2 extremely good news. The first one is that Commissioner Gordon is going to marry Sarah Essen, and they summon the heroes with a bat signal to tell them the good news. And in the meantime, Alfred gets a phone call from the hospital to tell him that Tim's father has awakened from his coma and is asking for his son. Now that is the right way to make a comeback. Not only are Batman and Robin back in action, there is actual development of their stories and continuities, and that's exactly what I love about the Batman comics in the 90s, especially by Alan Grant and Norm Breyfogle. This is the starting point of the new Bat family, and that's the end of this episode. I'm eagerly awaiting to continue the main series, but we still have to check out the other stuff that came out during the 90s, and that means that in the next episode, we're going to check out the return of the Reaper in the graphic novel called Batman: Full Circle. If you don't want to miss that, subscribe now and come back for the next episode. Until then, Godspeed, my friends.